Well, welcome to Manchester United, Ruben Amorim. And look, obviously I'm disappointed with the result, but I'm almost glad that this is the sort of performance that we've put out because it already highlights to Ruben Amorim the sheer scale of the task that he's taken on. And you can tell by the frustration and the mannerisms of Ruben Amorim across the majority of that second half and at full time that he recognises that this group of players right now simply isn't at the level that he's expecting and what Manchester United fans are expecting, because that was a poor performance. It was a really poor performance. Yes, it got off to the near perfect start with us getting a goal inside 90 seconds, albeit from a scuffed cross from Ahmad after what was a brilliant run to begin with. But I'm not being funny, from that point onwards, from minute 2 until minute 95, Ipswich Town were the better team in that football match. There is no hiding away from that. Yes, Manchester United had more possessions, and statistically, Manchester United even had more attempts on goal than Ipswich Town in that match. But Ipswich had nearly twice as many passes in our half than we had in their half. So you can ignore that 60% possession because Ipswich had more of the ball in our half than we had it in their half. And you look at the balance of the chances, Ipswich had so many better chances than what we did. And if it wasn't for Andre Onana, who once again was our player of the match, we'd be staring down a defeat today. And none of that can be thrown at Ruben Amorim. No way, any way, shape or form. He put out the side that he thought was best. I'm pleased that he went with his system from the get-go, playing the 3-4-3. There were certain aspects of it that I thought were looking pretty good at times in that match. But the players just aren't up to it. It's as simple as that. The quality of the players, the effort and the attitude of the players is there for all to see, and he's got a massive job on his hand to either get more out of these players or over the next 6 to 18 months clear out these players that simply aren't up to the standards and try and find a way to, at the very least, get some players with the right attitude in the football club, because that's what was happening out there today. Okay, I think his first mistake in terms of how he set up was putting Casemiro and Christian Eriksen together in that midfield. It was pretty obvious before the game even started that the likelihood was that midfield out of possession was going to get overrun. And that's what happened. On the ball, I think they played fine. I think some of Eriksen's long balls, some of Casemiro's long balls, through to Garnacho, to Bruno, to Dalot, to Ahmad, couple through to Rashford as well. On the ball, I think the pair of them did absolutely fine. But the moment that ball got turned over, they were exposed. And more than one occasion in that first half, they would either just run straight through the midfield or they'd go round the outside, and the runners from midfield would go past Eriksen and Casemiro. And it was obvious that at some point that was going to result in a goal, and that's how Ipswich got their goal. I can't remember who it was, but someone in midfield picks it up for Ipswich, literally runs through the middle of Casemiro and Eriksen without them making any significant attempt to stop him. Ball goes out wide, comes inside, Hutchinson hits the shot, Mazraoui's unlucky, Onana's unlucky. Like, don't get me wrong, it is a lucky goal from an Ipswich perspective because Mazraoui flicks it on. Any more significant contact, he heads it over or wide. Any less contact, Onana saves it. And obviously no contact, Onana saves it. And I even think Onana would actually have just stood there and caught the shot if it wasn't for the deflection. But he moves so early that when Mazraoui deflects it, it then goes behind him and above him. So he's almost got to arch backwards to try and save it, and it goes in the top corner. And it is what it is. That is the equalising goal. But from there, Ipswich still had their other chances. And like I say, if it's not for Onana having another phenomenal game, albeit his two best saves of the match, he probably didn't know a lot about either of them. He's just made himself big on both occasions. The first one strikes his hand from the lap. The second one strikes his right foot from the lap. Two, golden opportunities from an Ipswich perspective. Certainly the first one, which on another day would have found its way into the back of the net and would have been staring down a defeat rather than a draw coming out of this match. Substitutions, I think Højlund made a difference. Yes, Rashford got the goal, but I honestly think that Rasmus got through more running in 25 minutes than what Rashford did in 65 minutes. He just looked, as usual, Rashford self, uninterested, miserable, moaning when he didn't get the passes, not making enough effort to run in behind, not putting any effort into his press. When you consider that Garnacho and Bruno Fernandes were pushing up, when Casemiro and Eriksen are pushing up. Rashford, the one in the middle that's supposed to be closing down the keeper and the centre-back on the ball, just wasn't putting himself about enough. And then when we had the ball, he wasn't making enough runs in behind. It was just a very, very lackadaisical performance from Rashford once again. And I think come Bodo Glimt, certainly come next weekend, if this manager in Ruben Amorim is as cutthroat and ruthless as his reputation would suggest, I think Marcus Rashford will find himself out of the team, because we can't rely on someone putting in that little effort to be our main goal threat. It needs to be Højlund, and hopefully it will be, and hopefully that will start to produce some goals for us. But outside of that, again, build-up play was poor. The passing, I don't understand how we're so bad at passing. We've spent 2.5 years under Erik ten Hag, who is a possession-based manager. We've now had Ruben Amorim take over. Okay, it's a new system, but it's a possession-based system. As I spoke about, 60% possession. But the amount of times we give the ball away in just simple areas of the pitch. There were some occasions, and again, Rashford's palpable for this as well, we would do some really nice link-up play to begin with. Onana out to De Ligt, to Mazraoui, to Ahmad, in midfield to Bruno. It would go up to Rashford. He'd do a little flick, give it away. Or it wouldn't make it to Rashford. It would go to Bruno, little flick, give it away. Goes to Ahmad, little flick, give it away. Keep it simple. There is no need for these flashy manoeuvres, especially when you're not even winning the game. I can understand it when you're 2 or 3-0 up and you're feeling full of confidence, but I look at this side and they're not confident. And what's worse is they're compounding their lack of confidence by doing stupid flicks and tricks, almost to try and, I guess, build the confidence back. I don't really understand it. I don't understand how you can think you can get away with moves like this when you're not playing well. It's just complacency. That's all it is. It's just pure complacency. And it nearly cost us again today. But we come away with a 1-1 draw. The only concern I had about the shape is, why did we have Ahmad on the right and Dalot on the left? Especially in the second half when you had Højlund and Xerxes on, two big physical centre forwards, where it's like, well, now we can start putting some crosses into the box. Well, it was impossible to put crosses into the box, because every time it went out to the wing backs, they would either cut back inside and play it like that, so you're not really getting significant balls into the forwards, or more often than not, they would turn backwards using their strong foots to then pass it back into Luke Shaw or Mazraoui or Johnny Evans or whoever respectively. To me, when you've got big physical forwards on the pitch, you should then make the decision to put Ahmad on the left and Dalot on the right, and then start putting some crosses into the box. Again, don't get me wrong, our goal came from Ahmad putting the ball in from the right-hand side, but you watch the replay back, that is not where he aimed that cross in the slightest. So that was my only sort of gripe with how we set up. I still think, certainly if you're going to play wing-backs, surely you would want a right-footer on the right and a left-footer on the left. But look, I didn't mind the shape. I think once the players get a bit more used to it, once we start putting the right players in the team, I'd like to see Ugarte and Mainu start in those sort of areas. I think Bruno should be playing in the middle. He had a really poor game today as well, Bruno Fernandes. He seemed utterly useless as one of the three forwards. He got on the ball more when he was one of the two in midfield, but again, his creativity was really, really poor. And considering he's been a massive advocate for Ruben Amorim, obviously another former Sporting Lisbon player himself, been in and around Portugal squads when Ruben Amorim was still in the Portugal side. So for him to put in such a poor performance, I think is a real concern, especially as the captain as well. But look, it's a draw. It's another point on the board. We're up to 12th. Whoop-de-doo. A win today could have seen us go as high as 9th. We're still only 7 points, I believe it is, off of second. So it's not all doom and gloom in 12th place. We're only 7 points off second in the table. But, you know, a win today would have been 5 points off second in the table and 4 points off top four. So it's a missed opportunity. But, again, you've got to hold your hands up and say Ipswich were the better team today. So, in retrospect, on the balance of the match, we've probably done well to get a point when the expectation was to try and get all three. So, welcome to Manchester, Ruben Amorim. Your task has been laid out in front of you. I think we'll see some changes for Bodo Glimt on Thursday night. The job is at hand. and hopefully we can start seeing some more energy, some more passion, and some more desire from some of these Manchester United players, because yet again, there were so many players on that pitch today that just didn't look like they belonged in a Manchester United shirt, to be quite frank with you. They just didn't seem to put in the amount of effort and the amount of passion you would want to expect from a Manchester United player. As always, let me know all your thoughts down in the comment section below. Is Ruben Amorim going to be the right appointment? Do you agree with his style of play? Did we deserve anything more than a point from this match? Who would you put in certain positions of the pitch? Who should be starting? Who should be left out? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching as always. I'll see you tomorrow morning for my first round of Champions League predictions.